Hello and welcome to Keen on Keys. This was Yamaha's answer to the Casio VL1, the HandySound series, the smallest keyboards Yamaha has ever made. There are 4 different models. This is the HS-200. It was released in March 1982. It's just a little bit larger than the VL1, but these instruments have otherwise not much in common. The HS-200 is very simple. It has no rhythms or sequencer and no calculator. Only 5 instruments and a sustain switch. But 4-note polyphony and 25 tiny but real keys. This key size is a category on its own. They are much smaller than the mid-size keys, and even smaller than the mini keys of my PT82. Yamaha only used them for the HandySound series, the TYU series, and for the PSS 6 and 7. But Casio used them a lot, for a couple of PT, SA and some other models. You may wonder what the slogan is all about. Play and learn music. Shouldn't that be possible with any musical instrument? It's because of the HS-500, which was released at the same time, and both share the same box and manual. It has the same features plus a display and 5 musical games. But let's have a look at the HS-200 first. It's a little tricky to open. It feels like something is about to break. But fortunately nothing happened. Everything's nice and clean. All functions are written on the board. This IC turns the keyboard off after 5 minutes without pressing a key. The power amp, the filter, and here's the tone generator, the YM1008D. It runs on 5 AA batteries or 9 to 12 volts power supply, positive center. The speaker doesn't sound too bad, but I will use the headphone jack. The output is mono. The volume control has just 6 steps. But fortunately the sound doesn't change if the volume is reduced. The sounds are made of simple pulse or square waves, with different envelopes and filter settings. Except for violin, which is based on a sawtooth wave. Unfortunately an octave switch is missing. This would be very helpful, because all the instruments are in the same range from F2 to F4, so we only have 2 octaves right in the middle. The first instrument is organ. Nothing special, but I really like the violin. It has a nice vibrato. Clarinet. Piano. And harpsichord. You can change the instrument while playing. that's not all. 3 more sounds are possible. Move the slider very carefully until the sound changes. This is not the violin. It's a sound in between. Or to be exactly, it's the organ waveform with the violin filter. Filter and waveform don't change at the exact same position of the slider. A little further and you will hear the violin. The next instrument is clarinet with the violin filter. It's a bit easier to adjust. There's no additional sound between clarinet and piano. Between piano and harpsichord, we hear the piano waveform with the harpsichord filter. Now let's have a look at the HS-500. The display is mainly for the games. Function 1 is the play mode. Now it's working the same way as the HS-200. But the highest played note is displayed. And you can use the level button to switch between sharps and flats. The start button has no function in this mode. We have the exact same instruments, but 2 of the 3 sounds in between are different. Here we have the violin with the organ filter settings. Also one of my favorites. And this is the harpsichord with the piano filter. You can select one of 5 games with the function button. Function 2 is the first game, Match It. It's about reading note letters and pressing the corresponding key. Press start to play the game. The letters are written above the keys, so it shouldn't be too complicated. But time is running. You got 60 seconds. And the quicker you are, the higher the score. You get 5 points for each correct note. If you press a wrong key, just try again. Level 1 is quite simple and a bit boring, but every game has 3 levels. In level 2 a few more notes are used and you have to play 2 notes one by one. But the game doesn't wait for you. The notes change very quickly. Again 60 seconds. This mini fanfare really gets annoying after a while. Level 3 is really hard. Now also sharps and flats are included. And you have to play 3 notes. A bit too slow. This takes a bit more practice. To stop the game, press function or level. The second game is called Pass. You have to repeat the notes you're hearing. Again, level 1 is quite simple. Only 5 notes from C to G. But level 2 is much harder. A few more notes are used and they change very quickly. Level 3 also includes black keys. This is too fast. Next game is called Copycat. Here you have to replay a melody that consists of 7 quarter notes between C and G, including the correct timing. This is a nice one. And here we have a nice second level. Notes from C to C and also 8th notes are used. And level 3 also includes black keys. The next one is called chord chase. First we hear the single notes and then the chord, and you have to play the same chord. And the chord is repeated until you press all the right keys at the same time. If you're wrong twice, the correct notes are displayed. The single notes stop after you've reached 30 points. And after a while also chord inversions are added. Level 2 and 3 are the same, except that different chords are used. The last game is musical tennis, probably best played with 2 players. A bit like real tennis, but the position of the ball is indicated by notes. The ball is served when the lowest F or the highest E is pressed. Now you can hear the ball moving from left to right. The other player has to send it back after it has passed the net, which is in the middle. By pressing the key, the ball has just reached. I will open this one as well. Not a big surprise, it looks very similar. Only the section to the right is different. And for some reason a different tone generator is used. But the sound is exactly the same. This custom IC is a 4-bit microcomputer and LCD controller, which is responsible for the games. I really don't know what to think about these games, or music lessons as they might be called. It's not much fun to play them. My favorite is perhaps Copycat. And maybe Yamaha was thinking the same way. Because just 6 months later, in September 1982, they introduced the HS-500, with only 3 but different games and only 1 level each. And they changed the display. It shows notes instead of letters, which is definitely an improvement. They also released the HS-400 at the same time. This one is extremely rare, but could be interesting, because it's the first toy keyboard with sampled sounds. A human voice, and 3 animal sounds. Pretty remarkable for 1982. It also seems to have some pre-programmed music, which makes it the direct predecessor of the even rarer TYU-20, which was released in 1985. I guess the HandySound series wasn't a big success, at least compared to the VL1. All models are quite rare, especially the HS-400, and I haven't heard of musicians who have used them in their productions. The only thing I read was that Stuart Copeland used the HS-500 as part of his suitcase studio when he was on tour in the early 80s. I like the limitations. That's why I use small keyboards to make music. But this one is quite challenging. Only 2 octaves and all instruments in the same tone range. Nevertheless, I will try a short multitrack recording. But that's all for now. Thanks for watching.